What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and I just want to talk about some of the criticisms people had of the Princess Leia scene where she kind of like floats out and flies in space, or supposedly flies in space. So, a lot of people were complaining that when did Princess Leia learn how to use the Force? And for me, it was easy to accept that she had learned to use the Force since Return of the Jedi, because there had been many years between that film and The Last Jedi. It only made sense to me that Leia would have done some type of training with the Force with Luke, or possibly on her own, because she knew that she was Force sensitive, because she was able to sense Luke back in Empire Strikes Back on Cloud City after Vader had cut off Luke's hand. So it made sense to me that over the 20 plus years in between Return of the Jedi and The Last Jedi, that Leia probably would have become somewhat interested in what the Force was and potentially how to use it, and maybe even got a little bit of training from Luke. I don't think that's much of a far-fetched idea. I mean, it made perfect sense to me that she would know how to use the Force after all this time. So that's one of the first criticisms people have of that Princess Leia scene where she kind of like flies in space, and I'll get on to the next thing. No, in my opinion, it did not seem like Princess Leia flew in that scene. I kind of interpreted that scene as Leia reaching out with the Force with a kind of like invisible like rope, maybe, in my mind. That's how I saw it, to pull herself back to the ship. It didn't look like she flew at all to me. I know that the fact that she flew caused some outrage because people were freaking out, because that's not how the Force works, and that's kind of going against Star Wars like lore and stuff like that. But if she had taken off to like Superman and broken the sound barrier, taken off like in Man of Steel, and just like flew off like that, yeah, then I'd be like, that was a little bit weird and out of nowhere. I wish they kind of would have hinted at that, or foreshadowed it, or established like how that happened beforehand. But to me, it just seemed like she used the Force in a way or a fashion that the Force had always been used, which is to push or to pull something. And in that scenario, it was herself that she actually pulled back to the ship. Okay, how did Princess Leia survive in the vacuum of space? A lot of people seem to think that that's a little bit crazy, and that's not something that a Jedi is able to do. And for me, again, this was not something that was a little bit far-fetched, and it wasn't something that like pulled me out of the movie, which is like a criticism I've seen online, that it was just really out of place and silly. And this is actually one of the things that didn't pull me out of the movie, but there were many, but I'm trying to stay on a topic. So I'm going to give my headcanon explanation, or as far as I know, headcanon explanation, or a theory, I guess, for why it made sense and why it wasn't that crazy. Yeah, so it wasn't that far-fetched for me, because it has been established in the films and in canon novels that the Force can be used to augment Sith and Jedi speed and strength. Examples of this are like the Emperor doing like that huge, silly kind of twirl towards Mace Windu in Revenge of the Sith. And then there's the Phantom Menace, where Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon use the Force, I think, more than once in that film to kind of take off really fast and run faster than a regular person without the Force can run. So they're obviously using the Force to like augment their speed. So I thought of it as, if the Force can be used to increase a Force user's speed and strength, then why can't it be used to increase like a Force user's durability? I could argue that Anakin, back in Attack of the Clones, falling for many feet and then hitting that car or whatever could be an example of a Jedi being able to use the Force to like maybe increase their durability a little bit. And then I kind of thought of it as her potentially maybe putting up some type of like thin Force shield around herself, to protect herself from the initial explosion and then suffocating in space. You can kind of see examples of Force users using some type of Force shield in canon, not in the extended universe, because I know people will say that, but you can see examples of that, like with Yoda using a small, tiny force shield in his hand, I guess, to kind of like stop the lightning from Emperor Palpatine in the films. And I just kind of thought, like, why couldn't you kind of, or she couldn't kind of adapt that and maybe bring up some type of force shield around herself? I think that Yoda using some kind of force lightning as a force ghost has a bigger effect on the lore than Leia pulling herself back to the ship, which didn't really bother me at all. And using the force to push or pull something or someone, it's already been kind of like established as part of something that the force can do for a while now. Using force lightning as a ghost, or pulling lightning down actually from the sky, which is probably more powerful than force lightning from your, like, the fingertips or whatever, has not been established at all, and it was just out of nowhere to me. I mean, to me, that kind of is just out of left field and doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, if that was the case, then why not in Return of the Jedi or Empire Strikes Back have Yoda come back and help Luke against Vader when he was obviously losing against Vader, or in Return of the Jedi have Yoda come back and Obi-Wan to help Luke face the Emperor and Vader, and not have Luke have that battle on his own. For me, having Yoda use abilities as a Force Ghost or Force Lightning as a Force Ghost is a bigger deal than Leia using the Force alive to push or pull something, which has been part of Star Wars for a very long time. And the only part that I feel like I can say is like a really valid criticism is the idea that it's a little bit strange that Leia was able to survive that long in space without like suffocating or freezing to death. And yeah, I think that's my answer to all those criticisms that I see online a lot about the Princess Leia scene. There were many problems with The Last Jedi for me, but that particular scene wasn't the worst one in my opinion, and it was bearable and it made somewhat sense. So I thought I'd make something about the good stuff about the film, considering I've made, I think, about 2 videos about the bad things that I did not enjoy about the film. So yeah, I guess that's about it. For the people that subscribed since my last video, I really appreciate it. If you have any like recommendations about what you want me to talk about, let me know. Anything related to, I guess, like comic books or Star Wars, Dragon Ball, maybe life stuff. I don't know. Maybe I should tell a random story or something. I don't know, but because I know that's a thing like on YouTube. So yeah, I mean, that's about it, guys. If you liked the video, please leave a like, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And yeah, guys, until next time.